AI is repricing middle management. Middle management is not disappearing overnight. But let's be clear, it is being repriced. And that matters because for years, a lot of middle management value came from one thing, being the layer between information and execution. You collected updates, you organized meetings, you translated leadership goals into team tasks, you checked progress, you reported status, you kept the machine moving. That work used to require a person in the middle. Now, AI is starting to do pieces of that work faster, cheaper, and with less friction. That does not mean managers are useless. It means the market is starting to ask a harder question. What does this manager do that software cannot? That is the real conversation. And if you are a mid-career professional, a team lead, a project coordinator, a supervisor, an analyst, or a manager, this episode is for you because AI is not just changing individual work. It is changing the value of coordination, and middle management lives right in the middle of that shift. Welcome to the Force Sign. This is intelligence for professionals navigating structural change. No panic, no hype, just the signal. Today, we are talking about why AI is repricing middle management, what skills are losing value, what skills are gaining value, and how you can position yourself before the market makes the decision for you. Let's start with the plain truth. Middle management became valuable because organizations got complex. The bigger the company, the more coordination it needed. Somebody had to know what leadership wanted. Somebody had to understand what the team was doing. Somebody had to translate priorities. Somebody had to chase deadlines. Somebody had to prepare reports. Somebody had to sit in the meeting, take the notes, send the recap, and make sure nothing got lost. That was the job. And in many companies, it still is. But AI changes the cost structure of that work because now AI tools can summarize meetings. They can draft project updates. They can analyze spreadsheets. They can create task lists. They can identify delays. They can write performance summaries. They can compare documents. They can generate dashboards. They can turn messy information into structured output. That used to be a management advantage. Now it is becoming a software feature that is repricing, not replacing. Repricing, the work still matters, but the market may not pay the same premium for it when AI can do part of it in seconds. For years, middle management had a familiar value stack: communication, coordination, supervision, reporting, and judgment. Here is the problem. AI is coming hard for the first four: communication, coordination, supervision, reporting, not completely, but aggressively. The fifth one is different: judgment. That is where the human advantage still lives. But here is the catch. A lot of managers have built their careers around the first four and only occasionally use the fifth. That is the risk. If your value is mostly passing information around, AI is coming for that margin. But if your value is understanding context, risk, people, timing, trade-offs, and business consequences, your value can actually go up. So let's talk about the skills being repriced down. Skill number one, basic status collection. If your main role is asking people, where are we on this? And then putting those answers into an email, AI will compress that work. Project management tools already track tasks. AI can summarize updates. Dashboards can show progress. The person who only collects status is exposed. Skill number two, meeting translation. A lot of managers spend hours turning conversations into notes, action items, and follow-ups. AI can already do that. It may not understand the politics in the room, but it can absolutely capture what was said, organize it, and draft the next steps. Skill number three, generic reporting, weekly summaries, monthly updates, basic KPI recaps, performance snapshots. AI can generate the first draft quickly. The question becomes this: are you just reporting what happened, or are you explaining what it means? That difference is everything. Skill number four, policy repetition. If your role is mostly repeating standard procedures, answering the same questions, and directing people to the same documents, that work will move into AI assistants, internal knowledge bases, and automated workflows. Skill number five, task chasing. Following up matters, but basic follow-up is increasingly automatable. Reminders, notifications, escalations. Workflow triggers. If the task is predictable, software gets stronger. So let's be direct. Middle managers who operate like human notification systems are in danger. That may sound harsh, but it is better to hear it now than feel it later. Now let's talk opportunity, because this is not a death sentence for middle management. It is a reset. Some management skills are becoming more valuable. Skill number one, context judgment. AI can summarize a meeting, but it does not know that one department is understaffed. It does not know that a certain executive is sensitive about a failed project from last year. It does not know which deadline is real and which deadline is political. It does not know which employee is quiet because they are focused and which employee is quiet because they are disengaged. Context is leverage. The manager who understands the real environment becomes more valuable. Skill number two, decision framing. AI can give options, but someone has to define the problem. Someone has to say, this is the real issue, not the loud issue, not the obvious issue, the real issue. That is a major management skill because in the AI economy, answers are cheap. Better questions are expensive. Skill number three, cross-functional translation. Every department has its own language. IT speaks one way, finance speaks another, operations speaks another, sales speaks another, leadership speaks another. The manager who can translate between those worlds becomes powerful. AI can help with language, but it does not always understand tension. It does not always understand incentives. It does not always understand what people are really trying to protect. Human translation still matters. Skill number four, risk interpretation. AI can surface risk, but humans must decide what risk means. Is this delay annoying or dangerous? Is this performance issue temporary or structural? Is this customer complaint isolated or a warning sign? Is this cost reduction smart or short-sighted? That is management work. Skill number five, human development. This one is huge. AI can train people on information, but people still need coaching. They need confidence. They need correction. They need accountability. They need someone to help them connect their work to growth. The best managers will not just manage tasks, they will develop capacity. That is harder to automate and more valuable in a world where tools are changing fast. Middle management sits in a dangerous spot. You are close enough to execution to be measured, but far enough from strategy to be questioned. That is the squeeze. Executives want leaner organizations. Individual contributors want fewer unnecessary meetings. AI tools promise faster communication and cleaner workflows. So middle management gets pressure from both sides. From above, why do we need so many layers? From below, why are there so many meetings? From the side, can't software handle this? That is the new pressure. And honestly, some of it is justified. A lot of organizations have too much coordination theater, meetings about meetings, updates about updates, reports nobody reads, dashboards nobody uses, managers chasing work that should have been designed better in the first place. AI exposes that waste, not because AI is perfect, but because AI makes repetitive coordination cheaper. So the manager has to evolve. The role has to move from information handler to decision amplifier. That is the shift. The next version of middle management looks different. This person uses AI as an operating layer. They do not manually write every update. They use AI to draft it. Then they add interpretation. They do not sit in meetings just to take notes. They use AI to capture the meeting. Then they watch the room. They read tone. They notice hesitation. They identify conflict. They do not just track tasks, they analyze bottlenecks. They do not just tell leadership what happened, they explain what needs attention. They do not just ask employees for updates, they remove friction from the work. That is the new profile. Less human clipboard, more human command center, less let me check on that, more here is what is blocking progress, and here are the two decisions we need. That is the manager who survives. Actually, that is the manager who gets more valuable. So what should you actually do? Here is the practical framework. I call it the AI Assisted Manager Operating System. Step one, automate the first draft. Use AI to draft meeting summaries, project updates, employee check-in notes. and status reports. Do not start from a blank page anymore. That is old behavior. Step 2, add human interpretation. After AI gives you the draft, add what AI cannot know. Add context, add risk, add priority, add tension, add what leadership really needs to understand. Step 3, build better dashboards. Stop relying on scattered conversations. Create visibility, tasks, deadlines, owners, risks, open decisions, recurring blockers. If the work is invisible, you will spend your life chasing it. Step 4, reduce low value meetings. Use AI summaries, async updates, and structured check ins. Protect your team's focus. A manager who saves time becomes valuable. A manager who consumes time becomes questionable. Step 5, become the translator. Take messy inputs from your team and turn them into clear business language. Take executive priorities and turn them into clear team actions. That translation layer is where your value lives. Step 6, coach people into tool users. Do not just use AI privately. Help your team learn how to use it responsibly. Show them how to write better prompts. Show them how to review AI output. Show them how to speed up repetitive work without losing quality. A manager who upgrades the team becomes harder to cut. Now, if you are mid-career, this moment is serious. You probably have experience. You probably understand how organizations really work. You have seen projects fail. You have seen leadership change direction. You have seen tools get adopted badly. You know the difference between the official process and the real process. That is valuable, but only if you convert it into leverage. Experience by itself is not enough. Seniority by itself is not protection. Being the person who knows how things work is useful, but only if you can turn that knowledge into better decisions, faster execution, and clearer outcomes. That is the challenge. The AI economy rewards people who can multiply effort. Middle managers have a chance to do that, but only if they stop defending the old version of the role. The old version was built around control. The new version is built around clarity. Control says, keep me copied. Clarity says, here is the decision we need. Control says, let's meet again. Clarity says, here are the blockers, owners, and next actions. Control says, I need updates from everybody. Clarity says, the system should show us where the work stands. That is the upgrade. Here is the warning. If AI enters your workplace and your first instinct is to protect every old process, you are making yourself look like overhead. That is not the move. You do not want to be seen as the person defending friction. You want to be seen as the person removing it. Do not fight AI on administrative work. Let it take the low value load. Then move up the value chain. Move toward judgment, move toward strategy, move toward coaching, move toward risk, move toward cross-functional clarity, move toward decisions. That is where the market is going, and that is where your career needs to go. Here is a simple audit you can do this week. Look at your calendar. Ask yourself, how much of my week is spent collecting information? How much is spent repeating information? How much is spent formatting information? How much is spent chasing updates? How much is spent attending meetings where I am not making decisions? Now compare that to this. How much of my week is spent improving decisions? How much is spent removing blockers? How much is spent developing people? How much is spent identifying risk early? How much is spent translating strategy into execution? That gap is your exposure. The more your week is filled with collection, repetition, formatting, and chasing, the more AI pressure you will feel. The more your week is filled with judgment, clarity, coaching, and decision support, the stronger your position becomes. That is the signal. AI is not eliminating middle management, but it is forcing middle management to justify itself. The old value is being the layer between people and information. The new value is being the layer between complexity and action. That is a different job. And honestly, it is a better one. Less busy work, more judgment, less meeting theater, more execution, less status chasing, more strategic clarity. But the transition will not be automatic. You have to make the move on purpose. because the people who keep operating like it is 2015 are going to feel the squeeze. The people who learn to manage with AI, interpret through context, and lead with clarity will become more valuable. That is the opportunity. That is the warning. And that is the shift. If this gave you a clearer way to think about your role, subscribe to the 404 signal ***. We track how AI is repricing work, skills, careers, and opportunity. No panic, no hype, just the signal. And remember, AI is not just changing the work, it is changing what the work is worth.